As President Joe Biden works to control soaring inflation, Americans are not feeling confident about the direction of the economy. A new Gallup poll shows 77% of Americans think the nation's economic outlook is getting worse, while only 20% say the economy is getting better. And joining us now to talk about that and more is Chris Bedford, senior editor at the Federalist and co-founder of RightForge. Chris, great to have you on. Thanks so much. Let's talk about those numbers now. President Joe Biden has said inflation is his top economic priority. Do you think that he'll be able to rein in the inflation that we've been battling and regain Americans' confidence?
Well, certainly not with the path that they've been pursuing. Right now, it's really disheartening to see the president pushing out a plan in the newspaper article for how he's going to tackle inflation. One of the top steps is to do nothing, to not interfere with the Fed. Now, he is in a tough spot. We have been spending way too much in this country for administration of both parties after administration of both parties for years. But he compounded this at a time as soon as he came into office, infusing even more money into an already weakened economy. Now, the Federal Reserve is going to be faced with a dangerous position here. Do they raise interest rates in order to beat inflation? Do we actually cure the sickness that's impacting America's fiscal health? Or do they just try to push it off and push it off and push it off for political gain? It's almost certainly that they're just going to keep on pushing it off. But whether you're an investor or whether you're just a consumer or whether you're just a mother trying to pick up fruit snacks at the grocery store, you can tell that right now that something is very sick in our economy, and there's no hiding that with any political messaging.
Yeah. On a different note, Chris, as you know, there were more deadly shootings over the Memorial Day weekend coming on the heels of that tragic Uvalde shooting that really shook the nation. What do you think needs to be done? I know it seems our neighbors to the north in Canada are floating an idea that would freeze the purchase and sale of firearms. What more do you know about that?
Well, the Canadian government is doing that. Justin Trudeau's government is pushing forward some legislation to try and make it so they can buy back ARs and seize the sale of other guns, trying to say this is just about hunting. Now, Trudeau's got a problem here, though. He's got a minority government. He has to work with different parties. He's not completely in charge. And as we've seen in Canada over the last few months, he's got no regard for freedom. He'll seize your bank account. He'll hit you wherever he likes. And that's a dangerous place for the Canadian people to be in.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I want to touch on is something that happened this afternoon. A jury found Michael Sussman not guilty of lying to the FBI in 2016 when he was working for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Let's talk a little bit more about this. I mean, this is a story that didn't get a whole lot of play recently.
It's unfortunate to see that this was an innocent verdict, but it's not unexpected at all. It's extremely rare in Washington, D.C. for people to actually be convicted beyond just the investigation, actually convicted of lying to the FBI. And as some commentators have pointed out, there are a number of Hillary Clinton donors who are part of this jury. There's no reason to be particularly optimistic from the beginning, just like there's not been a lot of reason to be very optimistic that anyone would ever be held accountable for these actions that were taken against the last president and by the FBI and by outside investigators as well. However, that doesn't mean it's not an actual victory in some way for truth and for the prosecution here. A lot has been revealed. A lot of works with outside attorneys like Sussman working with the FBI to fine-tune their public relations releases, to actually work into the Democratic campaign, and the amount of FBI agents in particular who are willing to roll over on Sussman and blame him for all sorts of things, I think bodes well for the investigation going forward.
Another thing, as you know, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi has been recently barred from receiving the Holy Eucharist by Archbishop Cordileone and now by other bishops because of her outspoken support of abortions. I want to get your thoughts on that, Chris, and I know that you recently wrote an article about that.
Well, exactly. I mean, right now we're reaching a place where politicians and bishops alike have been able to kick the football or at least ignore the abortion question. Everyone just wants to say it's the law of the land. But now legislators, now that it's under threat, the Supreme Court is kicking this decision back to the legislators. Politicians actually have to make a stand, which means the church also has to make a stand. I think Archbishop Cordileone has been extremely brave and courageous and also very careful, going about this the way that they came up with the strategy with the U.S. Conference of Bishops, and also taking into account the Vatican's warning to take things slowly, to reach out and to try to have meetings and to try to correct somebody like Nancy Pelosi or other leaders who are pushing this. This is not excommunication. This is just the Archbishop saying you need to correct your path. It's hopefully corrective behavior and trying to bring somebody back toward what God's law is. Hopefully she listens, and either way, I do think the church needs to stand up, because over the last 60 or 70 years of apolitical silence, we've ended up with the United States that doesn't understand a lot of the church's teachings and politicians that are actively antagonistic to it. The Catholic Church ought to speak up on these issues.
Okay, we're going to leave it right there. Chris, always great to get your insights. Thanks so much.
Thank you.